Sometimes a picture is just a picture, until it's not. At first glance, this might look like any other photo of a plane taking off, something you've probably seen hundreds of times before. Nothing unusual, nothing special. But look again, there's something about this image that feels, do you see it? You might not at first. It's subtle, but once you notice it, you can't unsee it. This isn't just a picture of a plane climbing into the sky. There's something missing here, or something critical, and no, I don't mean that in a metaphorical sense. There's something very, very wrong with this photo. So, what's the story behind it? Why is this moment frowned in time so haunting? Let's set the stage for one of the most tragic events in aviation history, American Airlines Flight 191. It was a sunny spring day, May 25, 1979. Chicago O'Hare International Airport, one of the busiest airports in the world, was bustling with activity. American Airlines Flight 191, a McDonnell Douglas -10, was preparing for its scheduled journey to Los Angeles. On board were 158 passengers and 13 crew members, including families heading on vacation, business travelers, and everyday individuals. For most of them, it was just another routine flight. The -10 was a modern, wide-body aircraft known for its capacity and long-range capabilities. Though it had been involved in some earlier incidents, it was considered reliable. The crew performing the flight were experienced, with Captain Waterlux, a seasoned pilot with over 20,000 flight hours, in command. The first officers and flight engineer were equally capable. Passengers boarded the plane as the final checks were performed. The engines roared to life as the aircraft taxied onto runway 32R, preparing for departure. At 3:02 p.m., the -10 accelerated down the runway, gaining speed as its powerful engines propelled it forward. Within seconds, the plane lifted into the air, climbing toward the clouds. But just moments after liftoff, tragedy struck. As the aircraft climbed, something catastrophic occurred. The left engine, mounted beneath the wing, broke away completely. It didn't simply fall, it violently tore away from its pylon, taking a significant portion of the wing's leading edge with it. The damage was extensive, and the consequences were immediate. Inside the cockpit, the pilots were unaware of the engine's detachment at first. They couldn't hear the engine falling away or see the damage from their position. However, they felt the effects almost instantly. The -10 began to roll to the left, struggling to stay level. Critical hydraulic lines that controlled the plane systems had been severed in the process, leaving the crew with limited control. What made the situation even worse was the aircraft's design. The severed hydraulic lines caused the slats on the left wing devices that help generate lift during takeoff to retract. With the slats gone, the left wing lost its ability to maintain lift. The plane was now in an asymmetric configuration, with one side struggling to stay airborne. Passengers on board likely had no time to process what was happening. Within seconds, the aircraft began tilting sharply to the left, its nose dipping as the damaged wing dragged it down. Witnesses on the ground described the horrific sight of the plane wobbling uncontrollably, its left wing almost perpendicular to the ground. The crew fought desperately to regain control, but the situation was beyond saving. At just 31 seconds after takeoff, Flight 191 crashed into an open field near the airport. The impact was catastrophic, creating a massive fireball that could be seen for miles. The explosion destroyed the aircraft instantly, leaving behind a trail of wreckage and flames. The tragedy was absolute. All 173 people on board were killed, making it the deadliest aviation accident in U.S. history at the time. On the ground, debris from the crash injured several people, and the explosion narrowly missed a nearby trailer park, avoiding further loss of life. Emergency responders arrived quickly, but there was little they could do. The sheer force of the impact and the resulting fire left no chance for survivors. The scene was one of devastation, with fragments of the plane scattered across the field and thick black smoke rising into the sky. In the days that followed, investigators from the National Transportation Safety Board (NTSB) began piecing together what had gone wrong. What they discovered was as troubling as the accident itself. Weeks earlier, during routine maintenance, mechanics had removed and reinstalled the engine and its pylon. Instead of following the manufacturer's detailed instructions, they used shortcuts to save time. This involved using a forklift to remove the engine and pylon as a single unit, a method that exerted undue stress on the pylon's attachment points. Over time, this stress caused microscopic cracks to form in the structure. On May 25th, those cracks gave way, and the pylon fell completely, causing the engine to detach during takeoff. What made matters worse was the design of the T-10. The loss of the engine damaged critical hydraulic systems and caused the winch to retract, a flaw that turned a survivable emergency into a catastrophic failure. The crash of Flight 191 sent shockwaves through the aviation industry. Public confidence in the T-10 plummeted, and the aircraft was temporarily grounded. Investigators recommended significant changes to maintenance procedures and aircraft design. Airlines were required to follow stricter guidelines for engine repairs, and future aircraft were designed to ensure that a single engine failure wouldn't compromise critical systems. For the families of the victims, the loss was immeasurable. Lawsuits against American Airlines and McDonnell Douglas followed, holding them accountable for the shortcuts and design flaws that contributed to the disaster. Today, the story of Flight 191 serves as a somber reminder of the importance of vigilance in aviation. The image of the plane moments before its crash is a haunting symbol of how a single moment can change everything. It's more than just a photograph, it's a testament to the lives lost, the lessons learned, and the changes that made flying safer for millions of people around the world. This tragedy remains one of the most pivotal moments in aviation history, a story of heartbreak and resilience that reminds us why safety can never be compromised. At first, this photo looks like any other, a group of hikers setting off on an adventure, surrounded by snow and wilderness, but something about it feels off. The smiles seem forced, the shadows too heavy, as if the picture itself is hiding something. This isn't just a photo of a camping trip, it's the last known image of 9 hikers before their journey turned into one of the most chilling mysteries in history. What happened next has baffled experts and haunted imaginations for decades. This is the story of the Dyatlov Pass incident. In early 1959, a group of inexperienced hikers from the Ural-Polytechnic Institute in Sverdlovsk, Soviet Russia, set out on a challenging expedition into the Ural Mountains. They were young, skilled adventurers eager to tackle the harsh wilderness. Most of them were in their early 20s, except for one member, Semyon Zolotaryov, who was 38. Their leader, Igor Dyatlov, was a seasoned outdoorsman who had organized the trek. The goal, to reach Otorten, a remote and unforgiving mountain, whose name translates ominously to "Don't Go There" in the local Monsey language. The group started their journey on January 25, 1959. Spirits were high as they skied and hiked through the snowy terrain. One member, Yuri Yudin, had to turn back early due to health issues, a decision that would ultimately save his life. The remaining 9 continued their trek, documenting every step through journals and photographs. These images, full of smiling faces and snowy landscapes, captured their camaraderie and excitement. But as they ventured deeper into the mountains, conditions worsened. Bitter cold, strong winds, and heavy snowfall made progress difficult. On January 31st, the group reached the edge of a highland area and prepared for the final leg of their journey. They stored extra supplies in a wooded area to lighten their loads and climbed toward their next campsite. On February 1st, the group took a wrong turn due to poor visibility and ended up on the slopes of Klitsyakal, known as Dead Mountain by the indigenous Monsey people. Instead of retreating to a safer spot, they decided to set up camp on the exposed slope. Experts believed this decision was made so they could practice camping on challenging terrain, but it would prove to be a fatal mistake. When they failed to return as scheduled, concerned families demanded a search operation. The Soviet authorities launched a rescue mission on February 20th. Days of searching yielded nothing, but on February 26th, searchers made a chilling discovery. The hiker's tent, half buried in snow, it was badly damaged, slashed open from the inside. as though the group had fled in a hurry. Inside, their belongings were left untouched: boots, clothing, food, and equipment all abandoned. Footprints in the snow, made by bare or socked feet, led downhill toward the edge of a nearby forest. Following these tracks, rescuers found the first bodies under a large cedar tree. They were barefoot and dressed only in their underwear, huddled together as if they had tried to stay warm. Nearby, the remains of a small fire suggested a desperate attempt to survive. As rescuers continued their search, 3 more bodies were discovered between the tent and the cedar tree, scattered as though they had been trying to crawl back to the tent. Among them was the group's leader, Igor Dyatlov. The positions of the bodies suggested they had succumbed to hypothermia, a deadly condition caused by extreme cold. It wasn't until May, when the snow had melted, that the final 4 bodies were found in a ravine deeper in the forest. These discoveries only added to the mystery. Unlike the others, these victims were better dressed, some wearing clothing that appeared to have been taken from their dead companions. However, their injuries were horrifying. Lyudmila Dubinina, one of the hikers, was missing her tongue, eyes, and parts of her lips. 2 others, Salaturyev and the Bobrinolis, had severe chest fractures, described by forensic experts as being caused by an immense force, like a car crash. Yet, strangely, there were no external wounds to explain these injuries. The official Soviet investigation concluded that the group had died due to an unknown compelling force, a vague explanation that left more questions than answers. The case was closed, and the files were classified, fueling widespread speculation and conspiracy theories. Over the years, numerous theories have emerged to explain what happened. Some suggest that an avalanche forced the hikers to flee their tent in a panic, though the lack of clear avalanche evidence casts doubt on this theory. Others believe they were victims of a secret military experiment, citing reports of strange orange lights seen in the sky around the time of their deaths. Radiation was even detected on some of the hikers' clothing, further deepening suspicions of government involvement. Some theories venture into the paranormal, with suggestions of a Yeti attack or other supernatural forces. Indigenous Mansi folklore also speaks of spirits that guard the mountains, adding a mystical layer to the story. In 2020, a new Russian investigation concluded that a rare type of avalanche, known as a slab avalanche, might have been responsible. This phenomenon could explain why the group fled their tent in terror. However, critics argue that this still doesn't account for the bizarre injuries or the missing tongue. Decades later, the Dyatlov Pass incident remains one of the most chilling unsolved mysteries of modern times. The photographs taken by the group, especially the last few, provide eerie glimpses into their final hours. They show smiling faces, playful moments, and snowy landscapes, images that seem so normal yet hide a horrifying truth. The photo of the hikers on the snowy slope, standing together before the tragedy, now feels haunting. Did they sense something was wrong? Did they hear or see something that made them flee into the freezing night? We may never know. The mountain has kept its secrets, leaving behind only questions, theories, and a chilling reminder of how fragile human life can be in the face of nature, something beyond our understanding. At first glance, this image might seem ordinary, just to young girls sitting quietly, but there's something unsettling about their expressions. A sense of distance, of isolation, that draws you in and leaves you with questions. These are June and Jennifer Gibbons, known to the world as the Silent Twins. Born identical, their bond was anything but typical. They shared a secret language, one no one else could understand, and lived in a world that only they could enter. Their silence was their power, but also their curse. What began as an unbreakable sisterly bond spiraled into a haunting tale of obsession, crime, and tragedy. Behind their quiet demeanor lies a story that's as mysterious as it is heartbreaking. This is the tale of the Silent Twins. June and Jennifer Gibbons were born on April 11, 1963, in Barbados, and later moved with their family to Wales. From an early age, they were inseparable, so much so that they refused to interact with anyone but each other. This wasn't mere shyness, it was something far more profound. The twins spoke in a secret language that no one else could understand, a rapid-fire mix of English and Barbadian Creole spoken in perfect synchronization. To the outside world, their silence was unnerving. Their parents, teachers, and even doctors struggled to understand their behavior. They refused to make eye contact with others, wouldn't respond when spoken to, and moved in perfect unison, almost as if they were reflections of each other. At school, they were often ostracized, bullied for being weird, and their unique bond made them targets of cruelty. Over time, their silence deepened, and they retreated further into their own private world. By their teenage years, their bond had grown even more intense and more troubling. They spent hours locked in their bedroom, writing stories and creating imaginary worlds. But their relationship wasn't as harmonious as it appeared. Journal entries discovered later would reveal that their bond was laced with resentment and rivalry. Each twin believed the other was trying to dominate their life. One chilling entry from Jennifer read, "We have become fatal enemies in each other's eyes. We feel the irritating, deadly rays come out of our bodies, stinging each other. I say to myself, can I get rid of my own shadow? Impossible. Without my shadow, would I die? Without my shadow, would I gain life, be free, or left to die?" Their mutual dependency reached a breaking point in their teenage years. Unable to find a way to express themselves to the outside world, they began channeling their emotions into destructive behavior. They committed arson, theft, and vandalism, spiraling into a pattern of criminal activity that alarmed their family and authorities. In 1981, at the age of 18, the twins were arrested after setting fire to a local building. It wasn't just their crime that shocked the court, it was their behavior during the trial. They refused to speak to anyone except each other, and their cold, detached demeanor left judges and psychologists baffled. The court declared them unfit for a traditional prison sentence and instead sent them to Broadmoor, a high-security psychiatric hospital for the criminally insane. Their time at Broadmoor was a nightmare. Locked away from the world, their isolation only deepened. The doctors and nurses who cared for them described their behavior as haunting. They moved in eerie synchronization, mirroring each other's actions, and continued speaking only in their secret language. In their journals, the twins wrote about their shared belief that one of them had to die for the other to live a normal life. They saw their bond as both a blessing and a curse, something that gave them strength but also trapped them in a shared prison. After 12 long years at Broadmoor, the twins were finally transferred to a lower security facility in 1993. But during the transfer, something strange happened. Jennifer, who had been perfectly healthy, suddenly fell ill. She complained of feeling weak and tired, and within hours, she was dead. The cause of death was later ruled as myocarditis, an inflammation of the heart. There were no signs of foul play, no evidence of drugs or trauma. It was as if she had simply willed herself to die. Shortly before her death, Jennifer reportedly told June, "I'm going to die. You're going to live. It's your turn now." After Jennifer's death, June's behavior changed dramatically. She began speaking to others, engaging with the outside world for the first time in decades. She expressed sorrow over her sister's death, but also a sense of relief, as if Jennifer's passing had freed her from their unbreakable yet suffocating bond. June went on to live a quiet, relatively normal life, settling near her family and occasionally speaking about her experiences. But the story of the silent twins continues to fascinate and terrify people to this day. Their story raises so many questions. What kind of bond did they share that one could seemingly die for the other? Was it psychological, supernatural, or simply the result of years of isolation? The photographs of June and Jennifer, with their haunting stares and eerie synchronization, remain as unsettling as their story. The Silent Twins tale is a chilling reminder of the complexities of human relationships and the dark places the mind can go when left in isolation. Their silence, their bond, and their ultimate fate continue to haunt those who learn of them.